The 1980s really started when Ronald Reagan was elected as the United States' 40th president. Like his predecessors, Reagan believed that the spread of communism threatened American freedom and was eager to provide aid to countries under communist threat. When Reagan left office, he had a fairly high approval rating from the United States citizens. In 1981, Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to be the first female judge in the Supreme Court after receiving unanimous Senate approval. She retired in 2006 after serving for 24 years. The United States had a huge accomplishment with the Miracle on Ice. The men's ice hockey team beat the Soviet Union in the 1980 Winter Olympics and went on to win the gold medal. The 1980s began in the midst of the Iran hostage crisis. More than 50 men and women were being held captive in Tehran, Iran. The crisis lasted over 400 days, and the last of the hostages were released in 1981. Following Reagan's 1981 inauguration, John Hinckley Jr. attempted to assassinate him as he exited the Washington Hilton Hotel in D.C. Reagan lived, and his courage and humor throughout the ordeal led to an increase in his poll ratings. In 1985, while Iraq and Iran were at war, Iran made a secret request to buy weapons from the United States. The Iran-Contra affair became one of the biggest political scandals of the 80s and caused Reagan to lose popularity. In the 1980s, Germany's Berlin Wall became a symbol of the Iron Curtain. Reagan was set to deliver a speech at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin on June 12 of 1987. Against his advisors' wishes, Reagan tells Germany to get rid of the wall. Ronald Reagan had a set of policies associated with the reduction of taxes and promotion of unrestricted free market activity. The name coined to these policies was Reaganomics. On June 12th of 1983, Sally Ride became the first American woman in space when the Challenger launched on mission STS-7. She played a vital role in helping the crew deploy communication satellites. In 1984, the economy was on the rise and a consumer revolution took hold. Credit cards and ATMs fueled the shopping boom. In 1985, $60 million was raised for the famine in Africa through the song We Are the World. On January 28th of 1986, a teacher and 6 astronauts were killed 73 seconds after liftoff when the Challenger spacecraft exploded. Following the tragedy, NASA's Space Shuttle program was put on hiatus for 32 months. While Berlin's Wall remained strong, the U.S. economy had proven to be weak. On October 19th of 1987, the second largest one-day drop of stock prices defeated Wall Street. On March 24th of 1989, a ruptured hole in the Exxon Valdez oil tanker leaked at least 35,000 metric tons of oil in Prince William Sound, Alaska. The cleanup took 3 years and cost $2.1 billion. In 1982 and 83, 2 classic 80s songs were released by 2 of the most iconic figures from that time period. Michael Jackson recorded his single Thriller, and Madonna's debut album was released. Also, in 1984, the first Sony Walkman was released, which set a frame for the current iPods and smartphones we have today. The Cosby Show aired for the first time in '84, depicting a successful African-American family. It was said to forever change the way that the black families were seen due to their positive portrayal. After the death of gay actor Rock Hudson on October 2nd of 1985, AIDS became part of national conversation. The disease was originally thought to be an infection or cancer, but the name AIDS was coined in '82. In the 1988 Summer Olympics, runner Ben Johnson won the gold medal for the 100-meter sprint. However, he tested positive for steroid usage and his win was nullified 3 days later. Now, the 1990s began with America's 41st president, George H.W. Bush, who was originally the vice president of Ronald Reagan. Some significant political changes during Bush's presidency were the veto of the Civil Rights Act of 1990 and the passing of the Clean Air Act, as well as the Immigration Act. On October 16th of 1995, there was a mass gathering of African American men coined the Million Man March. Speakers were invited in order to show a different picture of the black man and unite against social and economic ills that plagued the black community. After 6 weeks of bombing against Iraq, the U.S.-led coalition forces launched a ground invasion of Kuwait and Iraq. The Gulf War continued for about 6 months. After serving 1 term, Bush stepped down and Bill Clinton became the 42nd President of the United States and was in office from 1993 to 2001. Clinton's time in the White House went fairly smooth, marked with low unemployment, declining crime rates, and a budget surplus. However, his sexual relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky led to complications in his presidency. The scandal led to impeachment, but he finished his second term. In 1998, there was a bombing of U.S. embassies in East Africa. Led by al-Qaeda, the attack killed over 200 people on August 7th. The bombings took place 8 years after the U.S. invasion of Kuwait. 12 of those killed in Kenya were American. Even though there was a budget surplus in the 90s, the U.S. federal government shut down between 1995 and 96. The shutdown was the result of conflict between Clinton and the Republican Congress over funding for Medicare, education, the environment, and public health in the 1996 federal budget. The shutdown occurred when Clinton vetoed the spending bill sent to him from Congress. Overall, though, between 1990 and 1999, the U.S. economy grew by an average of 3.2% a year, the median American household grew by 10%, and unemployment dropped to nearly 4% from 8% after 1.7 million jobs were added to the workforce. Hurricane Andrew hit the nation in 1992, directly killing 26 people and another 45 dying after. This disaster cost the United States around $25 to $26 billion. 1990s were plagued with iconic games and toys. The first Game Boy was released in the U.S. on July 31st of 1989. It was tremendously successful in the 90s. Another toy success was the Tamagotchi. This virtual pet game was released in 1997 and became popular immediately. Some iconic TV shows aired in the 90s, such as Friends, Seinfeld, and The Simpsons. These shows were a huge success in their time and are still widely watched today. Music changed in the 90s. What used to be soft pop turned into grunge rock and rap. Nirvana and Tupac were prevalent in the music industry at this time. The murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and the infamous O.J. Chase made national news in the 90s, as did the 1999 Columbine High School Massacre. These tragedies changed millions of American lives. Though plagued with tragedies and scandals, the 80s and 90s were overall 2 decent decades in history and will forever be remembered fondly by those who experienced them.